with the camera angles and the the violence, the story. You know what I'm saying?
You had, of course, you had 9 Inch Nails. You had
Robert Downey Jr.,
Patsy Cline in it. You had Leonard Cohen.
Leonard Cohen.
God, Jane's Addiction. Patsy Cline, which is another kind of a weird one to throw in there. Bob Dylan, the Cowboy Junkies. Patti Smith. L7. Nice. L7 did a Patti Smith song. On this soundtrack, which is pretty awesome.
And she was on
And Patti Smith did her own song that she re-recorded for this.
It would have been more awesome had she done an L7 song.
That would have been pretty bitchin'. And they were probably like, maybe we could do this one. But there were so many, like even Dr. Dre's on this one too. But this was an Interscope Records too.
Makes sense.
Lard, Fork Boy, which was awesome, and that was one of what's his name? Jello Biafri's extra. That was him in Ministry,
right?
Jorgensen.
Okay.
There was a lot of really like really cool stuff on there. I think, and I mean, shit. At that time, that's whenever it was getting more. Music was getting a little violent in a way. But the violence in this movie, to mix with the soundtrack, made it to one of those things where you just listen to the whole thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Just like you would watch the movie because it was so fucking crazy.
And it was very of its time too, I think, is another way to put it. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Even Oliver Stone, if you ever watch the behind the scenes, music is a very big part of his world.
Well, I think that's pretty evident from all his movies and whatnot, for sure.
Even Platoon, watching that one the other night, where they just pretty much use a Daigo for strings over and over and over again in that movie. I mean, that's just the theme of, and that's an old orchestral soundtrack. And whenever they have that kind of going that whole time, you're drawn into that world, much like Apocalypse Now. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's Charlie Sheen, Martin Sheen.
Absolutely.
Nice little tie right there.
It seems war movies have a lot of good scores.
Yeah.
Even if the war is in our country,
Yeah. And speaking of that too, what's going to happen whenever they start showing, because I mean, they had the soundtrack for Three Kings, which was pretty good too. It wasn't that great, but the movie was awesome, and that was only for the week-long war in the Gulf. And imagine what we're going to see in the next 30 years for people making movies about this war now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's just really crazy. And this was like, Natural Born Killers is more of a war on the home front, war with mental health, war with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Like a complete buck of the
Media
system.
Even.
Yeah.
Media, broken families.
And whenever they were doing that back in 94, it made you kind of look at that in a weird way. In my form, I guess I was 14, 15 years old at that time.
Right.
Looking at that and being like, man, fucking the world is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then this music kind of helped me grow a little bit more.
Yeah, in those formidable years when you're seeing all this happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 94 was a good year.
That's a great choice.
Yeah, that was a good one. Tyson?
All right, guys, I'm going with number 4 here.
Number 4.
This is going to kind of circle back to what we were talking about at the beginning with marketing, but I don't care what you say because I like the soundtrack. Batman Forever.
I knew it when you said that.
It's pretty awesome, though, man.
Kiss from a rose on a grave. They had that song was in everyone's head. They had the commercials.
Oh, absolutely.
But every Pepsi commercial.
Come on, Seal. You're so awesome.
Yeah, Seal in the wind blowing. But dude, it's got tracks by U2, Method Man.
That
PJ
U2
Harvey.
track is one of my favorites.
It's a good.
Yeah.
I don't like U2, but I'll do that one. You got
I also do not like U2.
Yeah, Massive Attack. You guys like Massive Attack?
Yeah.
Those guys are awesome. Seal, Brandy, PJ Harvey. The Flaming Lips.
Yeah. There was tons of people on that soundtrack that made it great. Yeah.
The Offspring.
Yeah.
So I just think, again, like basically to your point, but more of a poppy kind of comic booky, because we all know Batman Forever. I don't mind the movie, but it's clearly like bonkers. And
I like the movie. I like Batman Forever.
Yeah, I like Batman Forever. It's just, the colors and the signs and stuff. So it was very much another one of its time in 95 the next year, but maybe on a different acceptable violence spectrum instead of like murder spectrum.
Think about the movie.
Murder face.
And think about the tone of that movie. That was a complete toy commercial movie.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, so why wouldn't the soundtrack be more toy commercial and let's sell some fucking Pepsi Cola, you know, while we're doing it?
Well, they had the tie-in with McDonald's, so it would have been Coke probably. But
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just
We
kidding.
don't sell Coke products
It
here.
would have been Nozzle.
They had the glasses, these glasses with the four people's faces on them. I believe it was like
Yeah.
Riddler, Two-Face, Batman, and Robin. And
Sure.
I remember I had the Riddler one for a long time.
Everybody got the Riddler one.
Yeah, I had
Yeah,
a lot
because
of
that's the one nobody wanted. They made like 4 Batman ones.
Yeah.
No,
Riddle
I
me this.
I see where you're coming from on that, but that one was a huge soundtrack because it was a huge movie.
Well, think of it this way: it was a huge movie,
Yeah.
and it was a huge soundtrack. Because
Yeah.
not only does it have all these, Michael Hutchins and Sunny Day Real Estate and everything, but I don't know, if you pop it in your CD player, it's not a bad listen through. You know, it's kind of like
no, absolutely.
I will skip Seal every time. I'm
fuck
sorry.
yeah, dude. Dude, haven't you ever seen the new Vacation?
Yes. Where they got to sing it.
Yeah, they sing it.
Yeah, there you go. There's our acapella version of that
Okay.
one.
All right, so moving on. Yeah,
Was
we
that
can-
the one you thought we would hate?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I got one.
So there's even one.
When you said that, I was like, I bet it's Batman Forever.
Oh, that was
But
definitely on my.
I don't hate that.
That's definitely on my list. There's one you guys are probably going to hate later. Maybe not. We'll see when we
I
get
do
there.
remember how popular that album was
Yeah.
that summer, especially.
Yeah.
I didn't
yeah.
look at the numbers, but I'm sure it sold a bunch of.
I'm looking at your Sega Genesis over here, Dan, and it's got NBA Jam in it, and that is totally the same time frame.
I know.
Yes,
For real.
Yes,
As
no,
that-
absolutely.
NBA Jam, Natural Born Killers,
Yes.
Batman Forever. We're
Yeah.
all right there. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
All right, Dan.
All right. Well,
Number 4 for Dan.
number 4. I had a couple right here, and I decided to go with only one Quentin Tarantino. And for me, I know the more popular answer would be Pulp Fiction. But I actually went with Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, see, that was mine too. So,
Was that on your list?
well, it was, but I can change it if you guys would allow
it doesn't matter.
I had a kind of a switch there.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
No,
But
that's
it-
a good one.
Yeah, I love this, and I love that Stephen Wright narrates the whole thing with his radio capabilities.
I think I heard the soundtrack before I saw the movie.
Oh, it's so
No
good.
joke. No joke. Like, whenever Pulp Fiction came out, I had never seen Reservoir Dogs like most people at that point, because it hadn't really hit on...
Video, it probably only
VHS
played. You
very
probably
well.
only played in a certain amount of
yeah,
cities.
he didn't get
Yeah.
to see it. But that soundtrack was instrumental.
Absolutely.
It was so fucking great.
It's got the Madonna speech in it too. if you
Yeah.
listen
Yes,
to
it
yeah.
does.
Yeah.
And like Hooked on a Feeling by Blue Suede,
Yeah.
which is popular now for other reasons.
Yes.
But Little Green Bag is what it starts out with. Magic Carpet Ride by Bedlam. Stuck in the Middle with You by Steeler's Wheel, of course,
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
great scene.
Well, wasn't Magic Carpet Ride, was that a remake that they did, or
No,
Bedlam.
no? I thought Magic Carpet Ride was what Steppenwolf.
I don't know.
I'd have to look it up. Look it up.
Look it up.
While I'm going to say something real
Go
quick.
to the pewter.
I just recently, maybe like last month or the month before, showed my wife this movie that she'd never seen, and I'm like, okay, now you got to watch this part. And she's like, oh, he's turning on the music. And then she's watching it, and she's like, what the fuck is happening? And I'm like, watch, he's going to pour gas on him now too. I'm like, would you like another drink, or would you need me to get you something to eat?
And then, real quick, and while we're looking that up, it ends with Coconut, of course.
Yeah, Henry Nielsen.
Yeah,
or whatever,
yeah. So I think it's just
Harry Nilsson.
Harry Nilsson.
Yeah.
But I just think it's a great album all the way through, and it really gets that flow with Stephen Wright, being your disc jockey.
Yeah, like
if I could have a radio station where Stephen Wright was my disc jockey, I would listen to it always.
Yeah.
As it sits now, I don't listen to the radio. So, radio people, if you want to make that happen,
But again, if we're
Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf.
Yeah,
So Bedlam is who I had it listed by. So I don't know if it's a remake.
it might be it might be a cover.
It could be bullshit. Maybe it is Steppenwolf and like they're big fat liars.
This cool that we're staying with the 90s here because this soundtrack would be another cool one to pop in your car and kind of listen to like you're listening to the radio. Sounds of the 70s or whatever.
Well, what's really cool about that, and you can tell the obvious influence, this soundtrack obviously influenced another great record of the early 2000s, and you got to know this one. Queens of the Stone Age, Songs for the
Yeah,
Deaf.
absolutely.
So think about if they were listening to that at that time, Josh Homme or something like that. Was like,
absolutely.
man, I'd like to make a record of my own music to this.
Yep.
Maybe I'm fantasizing it a little bit, but I think that would be a really cool idea.
This actually, there's another song that was like in my honorable mention that kind of did this too, and that was the Good Morning Vietnam soundtrack.
Oh, okay.
Which I really like that soundtrack, but not as much as my top 5.
Right.
But it has the Robin Williams cuts between it.
That's pretty cool.
When he's the disc jockey.
Cool,
Yeah,
cool.
And that's not the first time that they've probably done that on the
I don't know.
soundtrack, but I could see that being an obvious influence on a lot of things.
Sure.
It's really cool to have Stephen Wright do that narration in it, and you never saw him, but he was a character in that movie. You could always you could very well see him being in there because the K-Billy Super Sounds of the 70s was a character in the fucking movie.
That's right, absolutely.
100%. And that's what Tarantino does really well with all of his soundtracks. I
Agree.
think.
Well, and that was the thing is I had to pick just one, and honestly, there were like 3 or 4 where I was like this one. Oh, I really like this one. But I would take and I don't. Do you guys have any on your list?
I do.
But I'm going to shut up right there, and I'll talk about that when you get to it.
Okay. All right.
Cool. And so, what is your number 4, bro?
My number 4 is something that is completely out of character for me, but I remember listening to the soundtrack again daily.
Can I
about
guess?
the same time?
Can I guess what it is?
What?
Is it Purple Rain?
No.
Oh.
No. I didn't put. I didn't put any of those like the Beatles on there,
Yeah.
or like the Batman soundtrack, the original one. Even though that was pretty cool too, because I have that tape with Bat Dance on it and shit. Yeah. No, it was Above the Rim.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The Above
Good
the Rim
call, man.
soundtrack is literally one of the best soundtracks that I've ever listened to. It is just so good, and it's not. Again, for me, that's kind of out of character because I wouldn't. I don't know. You wouldn't see me being like, man, Above the Rim was a great movie. Because the movie sucked, by the way. I did not like it.
It's okay.
And I don't like Warren G at all.
Oh, come on.
But exactly. Regulators, mount up. But
it was a clear black night.
but there's so many good songs on this that I can listen to this one all the way through, which is weird. Like Big Pimpin',
Absolutely.
Doggy Style, God, Pour Out a Little Liquor, Afro Puffs. That song hasn't held up, I can tell you that
That's
much.
the one with Dre and Snoop Dogg, right?
No, that's the Lady of Rage, I think.
okay.
I don't know if they're on that one. I don't remember it like that. But Dog Pound for Life, that's the Dog Pound, Tupac had done a couple songs on it, I mean, I remember that this soundtrack was like killer. One of my friends, he lives in Leadville now.
Okay.
He won it in like a one of those cheesy radio contests, where you call in and he like got the soundtrack and we would roll around in his Geo Metro, listening to this shit, going to the pools and shit like that because he could drive. He was like 2 years older than this. And we'd go over to his house and play Mortal Kombat and fucking NBA Jam and shit like that,
Right.
And this fucking soundtrack was on the whole time. Again, it's kind of out of character for me, but I can listen to the soundtrack. I even bought it whenever we were staying in Illinois for a while, me and my friend Adam. And
Shout out to Adam, friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show, Adam Lovejoy. And we would go buy CDs while we were working and kind of hanging out. And I remember I was like, man, Above the Rim, I'm going to fucking grab this shit. Because it had only been like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years since we had it.
Sure.
Because we were still like 18. I think I was still 17 at the time. And I just remember popping it in and us being like, damn, that was really fucking good.
Dog Pound for life.
And I mentioned it to somebody the other day. I was like, man, you remember this? Somebody at work. And they're like, holy shit, that was a great record. It's just one of those. This is kind of like it's an odd choice, but it's so fucking good all the way through.
Hey, again, Brock, it's not out of character. It's part of your character.
It's something that made me who I am.
Yeah.
It's something that made me who I am. Who's your number 3?
Okay, so this one, I'm gonna just make this real quick and kind of divert because my third one was gonna be Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but one I want to slide in there that kind of doesn't count, but it does kind of, but it doesn't count because it's kind of a musical. Is Scott Pilgrim versus the World?
Yeah, I love that album.
Yeah, it's got a lot of stuff by Beck, who did a lot of work as like the actual bands in the quote unquote in the movie.
Yeah, he taught them how to play most of them except for Home Dew.
Michael Cera actually knew how to play really good. He had to like slow down or something. I think. Yeah. But they do all play their own instruments. It's got songs by like the Black Lips and stuff. It's pretty cool. I like the Black Lips. So.
Yeah, even all of the original songs on that one was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's like Garbage Truck. Yeah, Garbage Truck and Threshold.
Threshold is awesome.
So that's my kind of honorable mention
That's
in there
fair.
too.
Yeah.
but I'll divert because my number 3 would have been Reservoir Dogs for sure.
That's a good one.
So,
Gotcha. So we're on to my number 3.
yeah.
Your number 3.
My number 3 is Pump Up the Volume soundtrack.
That was a great one too, man.
I really enjoyed, like, I just remember playing this like nonstop. Like, I have owned that album for like a long time.
Yeah,
That's one of those. Even though we don't get the Leonard Cohen version of Everybody